Hi, this is Josh with Resort TV 1, and today I'm bringing you episode 7 of Thursday Thoughts. We hope you enjoy the video. Remember to leave your comments below about the things that I talk about today and let me know what you think about this really interesting topic. So speaking of topic, today's topic is, why is Disney World so magical? And that may seem like an obvious question to a lot of us who love Disney World, but to some people, they really don't get it. And so I think it would be, really interesting to discuss why Disney World is so magical and why we, as huge Disney fans, think that it's magical and continue to come back year after year to experience that magic. And before we get into my thoughts about why Disney World is so magical, please remember to subscribe, hit the like button, notification bell, all the things. And again, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about why Disney World is so magical. Maybe I missed something in this discussion. But let's get started with my thoughts. So first of all, I think the number one thing that makes Disney World so magical is the memories. There was even the show The Magic, the Memories and You, and such a great representation of why Disney World is so magical right away, right there in that show. One of the best shows for a long time, and it really just encapsulated, I think, that whole idea. But memories really make Disney World so magical because, we made these strong memories because of the next few topics I'm going to talk about. But I wanted to start with memories. Disney World visits create strong memories with family and friends, great times together in the parks, and just, fun times laughing, enjoying, being in awe of something beautiful. Maybe even just, sharing a quiet moment with somebody, maybe even moments with people who aren't even with us anymore, that will be treasured forever. Or maybe even moments, with children who are now grown. You remember taking your kids to the park when they were super young and now they're grown. And, just those precious memories that we could never want to live without and couldn't imagine not having in our minds. And what helps create these memories are, music, sights, sounds, and even smells can play a part. So let's talk about smells for a second, how smells can contribute to memory. First of all, you talk about the Pirates of the Caribbean smell. Everybody can smell that right now in your head. And they've actually added to that in the last few years and added even more specific and stronger smells in certain areas of the ride. And so, that's really cool. But even before that, you smelled in the water rides, especially Pirates, even Small World, you smell that bromine smell, which actually reminds a lot of people of attractions like Pirates and even, Grand Fiesta Tour, any of the boat rides, Small World. Those amazing iconic smells. The Polynesian smell when you go in the lobby, that incredible smell. The Rome burning smell, that's a big one. Spaceship Earth, you start smelling Rome burning right when you get in the queue for the attraction. Sometimes you can even smell it out the back of the attraction, and just depending on where the wind's blowing, you can smell it, kind of at different places around Spaceship Earth. But it's so iconic and brings back really great memories, especially for those of us who love that attraction so much. And then bringing back an old school one, Horizon smell, that orange smell, which kind of came back in Soarin'. It's not exactly the same, but definitely even Soarin' has those smells that bring back great memories. Horizons for me is a great one. Just going in that attraction and immediately you start, smelling oranges, and you're like, this is going to be great. I love this ride so much, and all the great memories of the times riding it with the family. So. So basically, like I said before, it's just amazing time shared with family and friends who also love Disney, or maybe even somebody that didn't love it as much, but maybe grew to love it through the trip. Whatever it was, those memories, I think, are the first and most important thing that make Disney World so incredibly magical. So what contributes to those memories? What creates those memories? So these next four categories, or three categories rather, will, I think, outline at least my thoughts on what helps create those memories. So first of all, Disney details. Disney's incredible attention to detail is just so impressive. We don't usually notice consciously, or we don't always notice consciously, but we might notice even subconsciously something that is just really detailed or incredible in some way. And one example of that is Easter eggs, like Easter eggs from past attractions or different areas of the park. Like Mr. Toad in the Pooh ride and Molly in the Pooh ride kind of handing over the deed to the attraction because they used to be in their ride in that same location. Disneyland has the Country Bear moose heads in the top of the upper area of the ride in Winnie the Pooh because Country Bears used to be there. Mr. Toad even is in the Pet Cemetery in Haunted Mansion at Walt Disney World, just because his attraction is no longer in the park. Even in Hollywood studios, there are missing puzzle pieces from a puzzle in Woody's Backyard Barbecue that just opened, and those puzzle pieces are scattered throughout Toy Story Land. So just so much incredible attention to detail that you might not even notice, and it really brings you back for more. Maybe a cast member one time, stops you and tells you, something magical that you never thought of before. We're always learning these details. We talked to a cast member the other day who told us some details about some of the handprints in the Chinese theater courtyard, and I believe it was Audrey Hepburn who had never had her hands in the cement at the original Chinese theater, and when they called her to put her handprints in the concrete or in the cement at the Chinese theater at Hollywood Studios, she was very emotional because she'd never been asked to do that before, even in Hollywood. And then when Hollywood realized that they had made this massive oversight with somebody, so huge a figure as Audrey Hepburn, they called her and said, "Hey, we'd love for you to." She'd already done the Disney World ones, and they said, "Hey, we'd love for you to come back here, to Hollywood and have your handprints in our courtyard here at the Chinese theater." And she said, no, no, thank you. My handprints are already where they need to be at Hollywood Studios because, they asked her first. So just kind of a cool thing. I never knew that. But those are the kind of details, and stories that go along with, maybe it's more of a story than a detail, but just those little things along the way that you learn that make Disney really, really magical. The stories, the lore, the history, the legends, whatever you want to say. We don't always consciously notice these things, like I said, but maybe subconsciously noticing. Even hidden Mickeys, play a role as Easter eggs in an attraction. So lots of different things, and we'll talk about music a little bit later, but music can play a role as a detail as well. But of course, another thing that contributes to memories is just the incredible show and attraction design that goes in at Walt Disney World. And it's not like other parks don't do a good job. We talk about Universal doing a good job as well, but there's just that extra little something. It's almost hard to define or hard to put into words that Disney does in their attractions. And then when they don't do it, Disney's not perfect. And so if there's an attraction or show that doesn't, or guests feel like it doesn't have that magic, people react very strongly to that because they expect it. I would say on the contrary, and this is probably a whole nother video, but it would be impossible to keep up that level of quality all the time. Not that we don't want them to, and we don't want them to strive for it. Of course we do. But I think Disney set such a high standard for themselves, especially, in the first few decades of the theme park design, that, it's really, really difficult for them to always keep up with that. And, and also, in today's society with things costing more and more to keep up with the budget of it. So all those things, that's a whole nother discussion. But the incredible show and attraction design that goes beyond anything that any other theme park is able to do still. And this show and attraction design, it's designed to activate the senses in unique ways and tap into fond memories. For example, there's a great awareness in the Imagineers of show flow and the necessary ebb and flow of a show or ride. An example of that might be Happily Ever After, that it just seems to really hit a chord with people because of the way it's designed. It has high points, low points. It has the villains. It has the scary parts. It has the place where everything seems hopeless. The castle is burned down in the middle, and it's like all is lost. And what are we going to do now? And then just when everything seems lost, then just like in a great Disney movie, was it Jiminy Cricket said, "Fate steps in to see you through," or whatever it is. Something turns around and all of a sudden everything starts moving in the right direction. It starts working out, and it just becomes this beautiful thing at the end with this climax that goes all the way up to this incredible high point that leads up to Tinkerbell flying in this something that just isn't matched anywhere else in any show that I've ever seen. And that includes, even Broadway shows and things. The lead up to Tinkerbell flying is such an incredible climax. And there's a reason why the audience, especially audiences, there's thousands of people every night that see it, that have never seen it before, have never seen Happily Ever After before. And they always react the same way. It doesn't matter if they've seen it 20 times or 100 times, or it's their first time. They see Tink and they just let out a cheer. They yell, they scream, they cheer. It's almost an involuntary reaction because the show design is so good. It's so well done. Another example of that for a ride would be Rise of the Resistance. With starting out at the beginning when they're rushing you onto the transport, and then you get captured and interrogated and all these things, and then you're breaking out, and R5 is cute, and all these things that are in there just really perfectly, even all the way down to wondering what happened to the general at the end, and things like that. And the cuteness of R5 again at the end of the ride, and just all kinds of things, to the surprise of the drop right there at the end with the escape pods, to the scale of the whole attraction. The show design there and attraction design is just so incredible. Another one is Horizons, was designed with technology in 1983 that was completely larger than life, and was just so incredibly awe-inspiring to anybody who saw it. Almost I think, would they say 90-foot tall screens or something? I don't know, maybe it wasn't that tall, but the screens were incredibly tall in the OmniMax Theater, bigger than anything else that was around in the early 1980s like that. The music was just so incredible. We'll get to that here in a second, but just everything working together to have this incredible show design. So when you see that and you're put in awe of something and you have this pinnacle experience, I believe you have to correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have time to look this up right now, but I think it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You talk about, having, food, shelter, and health is the bottom level, and I don't remember the other levels in the middle, but you get up to that self-actualization level where everything is perfect. And I don't know if it fits the hierarchy perfectly, but basically, and this is something we study in education a lot, that's why it comes to mind, but you have these experiences with an incredibly designed show like you do at Disney, and you get up to that pinnacle experience, or at least I know I do, where you're like, wow, life could not get any better right now. This is the best thing ever. It's tapped into every emotion that I've got. I'm creating a very strong, what we would call from inside out, a core memory right now. And this is why Disney is so magical. You get those moments, and then it ties in and it creates those core memories that you never forget, that I talked about in the first section here. And by the way, if you notice me looking over back and forth, I do make notes for these every week so that I'm not rambling. I didn't take this from anywhere else. I literally just open up a blank Google document and start typing, and it's a lot of fun to do. So anyway, I digress for a little bit. But, the other thing, going back to show and attraction design, use of cutting-edge tech and incredible presentation to tell a great story. Rise is a great example of that. Again, Horizons, same thing. Using cutting-edge tech at the time to tell a great story. You can't just use cutting-edge tech because, people are going to see that and go, ooh, that's really cool. And that's it. That's the end of it. It doesn't create that emotional response maybe as much. It's got to be incredible tech, incredible design, telling an incredible story. And that's what I think makes it great. And then, like I mentioned to before, or alluded to before, the use of amazing music that is catchy, memorable, and classy all at the same time. Disney uses orchestral music better than anybody else. I guess you could maybe say John Williams is up there in a league of his own, but there is John Williams music in Disney World, so it kind of goes hand in hand. You've got Indiana Jones, you've got Star Wars, and you've even got Galaxy's Edge has its own John Williams theme. So, you could say that it goes hand in hand anyway. But let's talk about the music a little bit. Obviously, something near and dear to my heart as a music teacher. Again, like I said before, one could argue nobody does music better than Disney. Just because that's part of activating, those emotions and creating those core memories and having those pinnacle experiences. I can remember times when I've been wowed by Disney attractions to the point where it just transports you away from reality, where you're not thinking about anything else. You just don't want it to end. And that's, I think, what creates these strong memories. And music has a huge part with that. One of those times, by the way, I can remember is seeing Soarin' over California for the first time back in 2005, and just being in awe of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Disney created something like that. And then in the same trip, I think we saw Wishes for the first time, which was so incredible as well. And you get that scene at the end where they start singing "When You Wish Upon a Star," the crowd version, like a boat, that part, and the fireworks are so incredibly huge over Cinderella Castle. And it just gives me chills to even think about it. So, but a lot of that was music and incredible visuals coming together. So, one other thing about that, as we transition over again, talking about music in a little bit different way, Walt wanted people to be able to close their eyes and still know they were in a different area of the park by sound and even smell. And so that's something that I think music plays a huge role in. And Disney does such a great job. If you walk around Epcot, when you transition from one country to the next, as you walk, you hear one country's music fade out, and the next country that you're walking into, the music fades in. So it's really cool how they do that. And, even in Magic Kingdom, or especially in Magic Kingdom, when you transition out of the hub where the Main Street area music is and you walk off to Adventureland, Fantasyland, Frontierland, Liberty Square, I guess you can't walk directly into Frontierland, but you get the point. Like, you're walking from somewhere into somewhere else. You walk into Liberty Square and then you transition to Frontierland. You hear that change from, the patriotic, I believe it's the Marine Band recordings actually in Liberty Square now, but even before it was that, it was just, very kind of American folk song type things that were very patriotic, and then transitioning over into that Western style in Frontierland. And then when you walk across, if you go towards Tomorrowland, you're sitting there and you're listening to Main Street USA turn of the century style, music, maybe, I don't know, it's like vaudeville style, whatever you want to call it. And then you walk across the bridge into Tomorrowland and you're greeted with that electronic sounding, futuristic soundtrack of the future that never was. So all that stuff, contributes, and even the smells. When you're in Adventureland because you can smell the the egg rolls or whatever. You're in. I don't know. I'm trying to think of one. You'll have to let me know in the comments what other areas you walk into that a certain smell. And the countries in Epcot would be a great example of certain smells. Going into certain areas. And also, like I said, Disney music strikes really deep into our emotional core because of the way that it's put together. It's composed by master composers like John Williams with extensive knowledge of chords, phrases, melody, and structure to create masterpieces for attractions and shows. And these composers have to know how to bring all these elements together to really tug at the heartstrings and help people be transported into the story. And this is not a Disney thing, but they talk about John Williams doing this. I know I'm going to use E.T. as an example, even though E.T. is a Universal ride. But Steven Spielberg is once quoted as saying something to the effect of, it's not a direct quote, but basically like, without John Williams, bikes don't fly. Magic doesn't happen. People don't wonder. Starships don't go to light speed. None of that happens without John Williams. And that music. And so the same thing at Disney. None of that magic happens without the music. It would not work. And I've said this before, Star Wars wouldn't be half the movie it is without the music. It's a great story, don't get me wrong, but the music is what pulls it together. The same thing in the theme park. The music pulls it together. If you walked around the park and it was just quiet, there was no music, or all you heard was just people talking, that's one thing. You like to hear guests happy and having a good time. That's part of the experience as well. But if there's no music behind that, it's just dry and it's gone. It's dead in some way. The attraction. Can you imagine riding Pirates of the Caribbean without Yo Ho, Yo Ho, Pirate's Life for Me? No, of course not. It would be creepy. I was in Haunted Mansion one time in the ballroom scene and it got stuck. And so after about 5 minutes, they turned the work lights on and they turned the music off. And what was incredible about that was how creepy it was. And all you could hear was, the animatronics moving around down there and all the motors and servos and all the things whizzing and whirring around. I don't know if servo, I don't know if that's the right word or not, but you get the point. All the machinery moving around. You could not hear the music at all. It was just completely gone. And it was super creepy. I actually posted a video of it if you want to go check that out. I think you can just type in Haunted Mansion Resort TV 1, no music or something like that. But anyway, it's just incredible how much of a role music plays in creating those memories. And then also music even ties areas of the parks together. The old Epcot entrance area loops would be like an overture to the whole park. And so you'd have like the music from Listen to the Land, and the music from Universe of Energy, and the music from Tomorrow's Child. Well, I guess that one wasn't in the loop, but it was in the Spaceship Earth area music, which was close by there at some point later on in the history. So, but you had also Magic Journeys was in there from Imagination. One Little Spark was in there, but it was, kind of a more laid back version. Golden Dream was in there from America. A World of Motion, Fun to Be Free was in there. So many things in that original Epcot entrance loop of rides and attractions that you would experience later that day. And you didn't even know it. You're walking in the park, if you first time at Epcot, say, in the late 80s or early 90s when that original music loop was playing, and you'd walk in and you'd hear the music, wow, this is pretty cool music, but then you didn't think much about it till you got to attraction and like, wait, I've heard that before. Just like the overture to a Broadway show. Epcot World Showcase entrance. This still happens if you walk into the the first kind of little entry plaza of World Showcase there. You hear music from all the different countries being played kind of on a loop or on a shuffle. So that's kind of cool as well. The Magic Kingdom Entry Plaza in TTC has music from the attractions and movies throughout the park. So all those things tie everything together. And music, another part about music that could help create great memories, music that brings you back to an amazing time in your life. And for me, and Jen has talked about this too, Spectro Magic. When I hear the music to Spectro Magic, it just completely transports me to another place, because I can remember days at the end of a long day, or nights at the end of a long day at Magic Kingdom, sitting in the bakery eating a cookie and a Coke. That's where I've said this, I told this memory several times, but hearing that Spectro Magic music outside, and we'd seen it before. I didn't have the urge to run out there and watch it. Sometimes we did, but most of the time, we didn't. Just listening to it puts you in that mood, and that magic just came right through that music. And even hearing it now, like I said, it just really tugs at my heartstrings and just pulls me right back to that place. So I think that's why Disney World is so magical. All those things together, it pulls you back to those amazing times in your life. So you create those core memories through all the things that I just talked about. And then, when you have those experiences again, or even similar experiences, it pulls you back to those times. Or even when you listen, even if you're not at Disney and you listen to the Sora music in your car and you remember the first time you rode it, or you listen to the Happily Ever After soundtrack and you remember the first time you ever saw it, or you listen to Horizons, remember how in awe you were of it when you first saw it. For me, that was as a kid. Whatever it is, even like listening to the old Remember the Magic from the 25th anniversary, that really puts me back to an earlier time, into some great memories of visits to the parks in its golden age. So all those different things, putting them together creates magic. And it's just impossible for anybody to understand if they haven't experienced it. And part of that is previous experience too. And I think that's why it's so hard for somebody to go to Disney with somebody who's been going all their life. Somebody to go to Disney for the first time with somebody who's been going all their life. It really is difficult. Sorry, I keep looking back at the camera for whatever reason. I guess as I move forward and back, like the color's changing. I don't know, the exposure's changing. Sorry about that. Just noticed that out of the corner of my eye. But anyway, the point is, going with somebody for the first time when you're somebody who's been going your whole life, the perception of everything is going to be a little bit different. You have to be very, very careful and very almost hands off a little bit with the person, just kind of gently guiding them. You can't try and force somebody who's going for the first time to enjoy it the way that you enjoy it, because it won't be the same. They're going to pick up different memories and different things they enjoy. So the best thing you can do if you're taking a first timer is to just facilitate and let them discover the parks. So I think that's really, really important. And, when I say that as somebody who made the mistake when I took Steph for the first time. She'd never been before, and I tried to, the first day we went, the first couple days we went, it was like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. And finally she was like, hey, would it be okay if we just did it, and I got to discover it on my own and something to that effect. And I was like, you know what, you're absolutely right. Let me step back, let me move out of the way, and let me let you tailor make your own experience and your own memories. And that's why I think it's so cool to go back with family, because you made those memories with your family to begin with. And it's so cool to bring mom and dad along and Jenna, on Friday Night Live, because we have all those memories together and we remember what it was like to go for the first time or see shows and attractions for the first time. So anyway, like I said, that's just a little bit of what I feel like makes Disney World so incredibly magical. Leave your comments below. Let me know why you think it's magical. What did I forget? What did I miss? We could get into specific things like the food, the merch, things like that. I didn't really touch on those very much, but maybe you have a favorite food that you look forward to every time you go to Disney, and that makes it magical for you, because all of that together with the flavor, the music, the smells, the sights, the sounds, again, activating all the senses to create very strong, powerful core memories. Maybe shopping. Maybe it's like you can't wait to go see what new merch is there and what thing that you have to take back home with you to remind you of your awesome trip. So all those things together create those strong memories. And I think that Disney does that better than any other park. And you can argue that, people argue sometimes the magic is gone and this and that and the other. I don't think so. I think it's different. I think the magic changes. I don't think it's the same all the time. And the problem is you have to go with the flow with it. And that's a whole nother video. Or you can choose not to, and you can choose to live through the magic that you already have. But for me, And for our family, we've decided to go with the flow and experience magic in new ways when Disney decides to do things in a different way. So I think that's what makes it really, really cool and what makes it magical, when you can go with the flow, be flexible, and even adjust your memories. And also be reasonable with your expectations. That's the other danger, is that if you have this awesome core memory and then you go back the next time and try and do the same thing, and it's not the same because it's not the first time. I think you have to also remember that the first time of anything is going to be the pinnacle experience. And after that, it's going to be awesome, but it might not quite reach that same level. And so that's another thing to remember. All right, so I think that's about all for now. That wraps up my thoughts on why Disney World is so magical. We might be able to do another one of these because we could probably write a book about this. Pretty big topic here, but just something that it was on my mind and on my heart today. And I hope that you enjoyed my rambling, and I hope that you found some of it interesting, and maybe it spawned some thoughts in your mind that you'd like to share in the comments. So again, leave a comment, let me know what you think. I try and respond to a few of them here and there. I tried last time to respond to all of them, and when there's like 200 comments, it makes it hard. But definitely leave a comment, and I will read them all, and hopefully I can respond to as many of them as I can. Also, be sure to check out our awesome sponsors, Mickey Blog and MickeyTravels.com, for the best in free Disney vacation planning advice. Also, check out ResortTV1Homes.com, brokered by eXp Realty, if you want to find your dream home right here in Central Florida. And finally, be sure to check out David's DVC Rentals, dvcrequest.com/TV, if you'd like to rent a DVC room for a fraction of the cost. Check out David's DVC Rentals. All right, everybody, thank you for making Thursday Thoughts a lot of fun. Thank you for watching every week. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next week with Episode 8, but I hope you enjoyed Episode 7. All right, everybody. So for now, have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye-bye. Now that you've finished watching this video, be sure that you're subscribed so that you can get all of the latest updates. Also, check out some other great videos on our channel. Have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye-bye.